All right, all right. Aloha, hiaka, everyone. I'm Peter K, and you have joined the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have, of course, a great show planned for you today. So we got a couple things going on. Of course, we're going to have our Hawaii music selection. You do not want to miss that. And we're going to talk about some crappy planning. That's something else. You're not going to want to miss. Actually, you're not going to want to miss out on any of this stuff. But there's some fun, crappy planning going on that we're going to talk about. Of course, the Eddie. We had the Eddie Aikau Invitational last week. And it was, it was absolutely amazing. You're going to want to know about that. By the way, we've got we're using chapters in the YouTube video. So if you're not watching this live, you can kind of click through and kind of zoom right forward to the place that you want. Of course, your questions are the most important part of the show. It's what makes it fun and interesting. And then finally, we're going to wrap up as usual the way we do with motivational thoughts. So I'm glad you are all here. Let's go now and kind of say hello to our friends who are with us over here. We got Dylan Nonaka, who is in a secret bunker location that shall be undisclosed, but he is with us from the Big Island, and we have Ashley Wasan, who is with us from Oahu, and we're going to warm up the microphones and get the audience going over here. So let's go clockwise. Dylan, what's going on, buddy? What's the shirt? What's going on? What's happening?
Well, I got my my signature Sig Zane from the Big Island, but spent the last since Monday, I've been here on Maui at a real estate conference that's been absolutely amazing. Actually, Ashley was over here with me. She left last night, but I stayed one more night, and actually heading your way tomorrow or to this in a few hours. I got Army Reserve drill this weekend, so it's been a busy weekend, but it's all good.
Army Reserve. Thank you for what you do. I don't know, Frank. I don't know how in the hell you do it. You got the gig you're doing on the Big Island, and you're killing it, and then you're going to be serving our country as well. Can you do me a favor? Can you shoot down that spy balloon that's over Montana? That would be cool if you could do that.
I'm wondering why they didn't do that. Like, what's the big deal?
There must be a reason, but because I'm not smart enough to figure it out.
I got to believe if you can see it, you can shoot it, right? I'm pretty sure we got the stuff that's capable of that. So,
well, and you think like every Montana hunter on the planet is using his high-powered rifle to kind of take that thing down. But anyway, Ashley, what's going on, girl? How are things? What's happening on Oahu?
Everything's great. I'm so glad when we got to Maui that the sun had started shining because we had torrential downpour for about 3 or 4 days. And then it just opened up. It was sunny for the convention that we were at. And then now it's nice and overcast again. I love cold weather. So it got really cold. If you're in Hawaii, I'd love to know your opinions. I mean, I had fuzzy socks on, full-blown sweater. Doesn't happen very often, but it's a nice, refresh. It's a good reset. And then it gets hot. So then like by noon, you're in the sun again and you can be at the beach.
You're back in sun again. Hey, I'm curious. Auntie Joan has joined us. Aloha, everyone. Hey, Auntie Joan, how was it? Because I know that Auntie Joan is on Oahu. I know that you've recently migrated from Colorado, so I don't know if your blood has completely thinned out yet. But was it cold? Did you put on any, like Ashley, put warm fuzzy stuff on? Yeah, Ashley, you know what? I had my daughters crack up at me when they see this, but my signature warm, cold Hawaii cold weather suit is long sleeve white t-shirt, sweatpants and socks. That's my winter gear in Hawaii. Hey, Barbara, aloha from North Idaho. Welcome, Barbara. How's the weather out there? Are you guys getting hit by that? There's like a cold snap, but I think it's kind of hitting the northeast part of the U.S. mainland. Val is back with us. Welcome back, Val. Aloha. I'll keep up the great work. Thank you, Val. We really appreciate it. And Judy is back. Judy is an alumni of the Islander Ohana, and Judy says closing on our new home on the Big Island with Dylan and team today. Congratulations. That is, we'd love to see that, Judy. Judy's got a fantastic story. She definitely an alum of the Islander Ohana. All right, cool. Great, gang. Thanks for the warm up. Let's move on. It's just about a minute over. Let's get on to our music here. So I've got a favorite. I got one of my favorites over here, which is our Kanakapila is the Hawaiian word for a jam session music. And one of my favorites is the Peter Moon Band. They're old school, from the 70s, if not earlier. But man, it's kind of a classic band. If you haven't listened to Peter Moon Band, you're going to listen to them now. Put on your Alexa, bring your Siri close, bring your Google phone close, whatever you've got that listens to voice commands, because we're gonna take control of your music here for a minute. So here we go. Alexa, play music from Peter Moon Band. Hey Siri, play music from Peter Moon Band on Pandora. Okay Google, play music from Peter Moon Band. Try that out, gang. If you didn't get your thing automatically kind of fired up, play your get your Peter Moon Band. I know not to kind of talk about music over here, but Dylan, Ashley, Peter Moon Band comments. Dylan, what is it before your time too, Dylan, or what, or no?
Little bit before my time. I mean, good, but not in my like top 10. I'm more of like a 90s, kind of guy. So
nice kind of guy. Actually, I don't know if you've ever played Peter Moon Band at all. What's your thoughts on Peter Moon?
I like having it in the background while you're cooking and, just hanging out. More like your coffee kind of music, but Hawaiian.
That's a nice way of putting it. Excellent. So Joan says, no, not yet. My friends in Colorado are freezing their knickers off. I do not miss it at all. I don't think there's anything especially for someone, if you're freshly transplanted from the mainland, I don't think there's anything more satisfying than seeing your friends on the mainland freeze their butts off while you're kind of cruising on the beach. That is the ultimate. There's nothing beats that. Nothing beats that. All right. Hey, let's get some news going over here to give you an update on kind of what's happening, some fun stuff. So green fees, might be coming, gang, and it ain't gonna be for golf. There's some works in the legislature that, of course, they're going to be extracting more dollars from visitors. See, y'all made a mistake here during COVID. They charged you like a couple $100 per person extra, and people kept coming. So now they're like, yeah, we could kind of keep doing it. So they're going to be charging fees may be going up. They may be charging visitors access to parks, access to beaches. They tried to actually put a per person tax for visiting Hawaii, but the airlines didn't want to go for it, and so that kind of failed. But there is some talks. So green fees, as in a green economy, as in Governor Green, but not as in golf green. Another thing, there's there's some talk here, and I'd like to hear what Ashley is kind of caught on this one. There's a bill going through that they're trying to reclassify 100 acres of non-essential agricultural land, and to make a portion of it, half of it, for affordable housing. So there may be some more land coming into the marketplace to provide housing. And there's more housing, presumably prices, it might kind of help stabilize prices and things of that nature. So I'm happy about that. All right, so let's talk about the crappy planning. Yes. What do we mean? What do we mean by crappy planning bill in the works? This is another one. This is we had talked about this topic earlier. This is about cesspools. Crappy planning. So we talked about the cesspool topic a while ago, and this was there's some laws on the books that are saying that everybody has to convert to cesspools by X year X, which seems to be very, very unrealistic. So what they're doing now is they're saying, okay, look, we got to have a plan of how we're going to do this, and that plan is going to be due by next year. So we'll see. That's why I call that crappy planning. Hope you enjoy the wordplay on that. Okay. Whale crossing, there's some it's kind of, it's a fun thing. There was a time when everyone was worried about the whales going extinct. That is absolutely not going to be happening. And in Hawaii now, we have to worry about whale crossing. There's all kinds of warnings for boaters that are running into, not about running it, running into whales. There's a lot of whales in the water, and that is a good thing. And then finally, the Eddie Aikau that was the Eddie Aikau. It's called the Eddie Aikau Invitational. It's a special surfing event. It only happens when the Aikau family of Eddie Aikau sees that the conditions are right for Waimea Bay, which is a famous big wave surfing place on Oahu. When the conditions are right and the surf is giant, they will call the Eddie Aikau Invitational. This one was one of the biggest ones they've ever held, and it was absolutely amazing. I got 2 videos, and I popped them into the Facebook page. So if you haven't gone to our Facebook page, go there. I just popped those 2 links. Facebook doesn't, this system doesn't allow me to post links. I'll try it. The system, I don't think, allows me to post links. Let's give it a quick try. And I don't think it comes across as a link. We'll see. Yeah, it doesn't. But anyway, check those out. They're 2 amazing videos of the Eddie Aikau. All right. So let's kind of move into our our market update here. Let's talk to our friends and kind of figure out what's going on. Ashley and Dylan, I'd like to hear from you. Give us an update on kind of any news on that you've got, or anything you want to share, or of course the market. Why don't we go Ashley first and then Dylan? Ashley, go ahead.
Market is, from 2 weeks ago when we were last on, hasn't adjusted much on Oahu. We've seen, consistent properties going under market pretty quickly. If we're priced right, we have multiple offers. We just got above asking on our newest listing. With that said, we do think that there's going to be an interest rate hike here coming soon. Even though the feds are raising their hike, that doesn't always directly correlate with interest rates, but obviously we think it might, because we're still at the inflation that they need to reduce. So with that said, I think we might see prices stabilize again. They're already stabilized, but we might see activity stabilize again when that does happen, until people get used to that new rate. I don't think interest rates are going to go back down to what we saw before. People are getting used to it. So everyone's moved on. Market kept trucking forward.
Everybody's moving on and the market is going forward. Hey, did you get anything on the Dylan, did you want to say something? I kind of heard you there for a quick sec. You were going to jump in.
Oh no, I can wait my turn.
Okay. I just want to. I thought you wanted to jump in and talk about it. So, did you catch any of the? I did not go this time around to the Eddie Aikau. I've got a fun story, but about the Eddie. I don't know if you did it, Ashley, or if you had friends do it. We had actually some. It was really cool. Some of the Islander Ohana alumni actually went. They made their pilgrimage. They got up at 2:00 in the morning to make their way down there, and they made it, and they got like quote front row seats, which is unbelievable. It was an incredible contest. I don't know if you have any comments on that, Ashley.
When I lived on the North Shore, because I lived up on that side for 10 years, I would go. Now that I'm in Kailua, I don't make my way, because you are going to be stuck in a couple hours of traffic, unless if you do that. I have a little one, so I didn't. I do have a sunset listing coming up though, and I was supposed to meet him that day, and we chose to reschedule. But now you have, pipeline that just started. So that goes on until the 10th. So traffic will be nuts. I did miss the Eddie. I watched it live though. Love that the underdog won. What a victory. That was really cool.
Yeah, and it had to be a lifeguard, right? A Waimea lifeguard who won the contest, which is like so cool. And it actually goes to the essence. I was thinking about this, and I'm curious. I'm wondering why. I believe Clyde Aikau was the one who gave out the awards. I'm wondering, he didn't mention it, but he must have made the connection, because Eddie Aikau, who of course passed away out at sea, was a Waimea lifeguard as well. And so that was a cool connection, and he didn't mention that, because there's God knows what's going on in his head, but that was an interesting connection that I caught. Yeah. I've got a great story, but let's save it for later. Dylan, let's go over to you. What's going on? What's happening on the Big Island and the top secret bunker location where you're located right now?
The big headline, I think, for the market right now is the slowdown in activity. So prices are kind of still holding steady. We're still seeing lots of market activity, like Ashley had said, on properties that are priced properly. We just put one on for $499 and had like 8 offers in 2 days. So it was older house, fixer upper, but the stuff that's affordable, that's priced properly, is still getting a ton of activity. But if you look back and compare earlier in the year last year, the height of sales on the island, on the Big Island, were 750 back in March. That fell kind of steadily throughout the year, all the way to November and December, where November it was 329, December it was 330. So it's pretty steady, kind of bottomed out in November and December. And then January hit, and there was 311 sales last month. So even lower, which is below the historical averages. Historically, 400 or 450 is kind of normal. So 750 was very abnormal, kind of in the height of the craziness of the market. But very, very low. Things have slowed down pretty significantly. But again, if it's a good time to buy, because there's less competition, but if price is stuffed properly, it still is selling pretty quickly. So I think it's just the hangover of sellers, holding on to the hope that prices are, they're still going to get over what the property is worth. And it's just, those days are over. We're back to negotiating. And there's a lot of calculators out there that you can look at that I think is important to the concept of, yes, interest rates are higher, but if you compare, an $800,000 house that you had to pay $880 for, 10 months ago at a 4% interest rate versus if it's 800,000 today and you can get it for 775, but you got to pay a 6% interest rate. The payments are like $100 different, right? I mean, it's like it's not a huge difference. So if you're buying based on your payment and then leaving that interest rate noise to the side, it's not like housing affordability has fallen dramatically or anything like that. You can pretty much get into a very similar property for a similar price point or similar monthly cost, irregardless of interest rates are, because of the slowdown and the ability to negotiate prices right now.
So okay, so you're mentioning that you guys had the market activity, I suppose that was the word that you used, right? The activity is down. Ashley, I didn't recall. Did you mention activity are you seeing a similar curve on Oahu as well? Is the activity kind of down from historical norms?
Yes, that actually is true. And that's a great point. It is historically lower. However, in comparison to what we saw in the last quarter of 2022, activity has increased. In the end of 2022, we saw almost a halt. So in January, it was a random tick. It was like a pre-spring market. We don't normally see, an uptick. We don't normally see, and personally, just micro view of even our team, our listings, we went from not having any private showings to maybe having, a couple a day. So yes, activity, meaning buyers are out there looking, but they're still slow to pull the trigger. They're still negotiating. That doesn't mean that the sales are necessarily picking up at the same pace. So activity, I think I should have been more specific.
The other really interesting factor for us too is that inventory is not increasing. Like inventory is completely stagnant. So even though there's less sales happening, a few hundred less sales month over month, we've been at like 2,000 total properties for sale. So that's land, condos, and homes. But that number is not rising. It kind of bottomed out, earlier last year. We were under 2,000 at one point. It kind of came back up, and it's been hovering, 2011, 2000, here's 2028 today or something like that. But it's like right around 2,000, and we're not headed back towards that 3,500 kind of normal historical number of properties on the market. So it's a still very low inventory market, and it's kind of counterintuitive that not as many properties are selling, but they're not coming and stacking up on the market and just sitting there. So I don't know what's going on with that. I mean, sellers are just not selling right now for whatever reason, and they're not putting more properties on the market.
Well, I think my theory on that is that, one, the interest rates are higher. So instead of people just naturally and organically rotating or upgrading their quality of life or their square footage, they have to, unload a low interest rate to then get into something at more expensive at a higher interest rate. So we're seeing less resale, especially because so much sales happened in the last 2 years. So a lot of those people are going to be holding tight for some time until it makes more sense, or they have at least bought their mortgage down a bit, because equity probably won't increase as rapidly for them. And two, I think that they're hearing that there's strong negotiations on the buy side. What's really interesting is that a buyer and seller's market are determined by months of inventory. So 6 months of inventory or below is considered a seller's market. 6 months up is considered a buyer's market. And right now we're below 2 months of inventory, which is by definition a buyer's market. However, it's a seller's market. A seller's market. Yeah. However, it's a seller's market in a buyer bubble. So buyers still have the leverage. They're still negotiating, and we don't normally see this with such low inventory. So that's the really fascinating thing about our current market.
That's so interesting. So what I'm kind of catching in this, there's no really strong signals sort of either way of kind of where things are going to fly. If if you had like your crystal ball, you'd say, what, I really don't know where the hell it's going to go, because you got interest rates this, you got market that, you got months of inventory down, you have sellers holding on, but you have buyers. It's interesting. So as usual, the best time to buy is right now. That's all I know. That's the only mantra I ever hear, is the best time to buy is right now.
If you think about it, rent is 100% interest rate. So not to sound corny, I didn't mean to cut you off, Dylan, but rent is 100% interest rate. Like if you become a homeowner and you then go for renting, you feel sick. Like if you sell your house and then you end up renting, you're like, oh, I'm going to rent until I buy my next house. And then you rent for a whole year and you look at that rent, say if it's like $3,000 a month, after, a year, you're never going to see that money again. That's $36,000 that you'll never see again. So if you buy something and if the market didn't change, if it just stabilized or you waited to sell until then, even if you had closing costs that were $30,000 or $40,000 you're out of pocket, at least that's a write-off, and you can write that off as a loss in your taxes. On rents, that's just gone forever. So not to be corny, but it is a good time to buy because it's better than 100%.
There you go. Dylan, what were you going to say?
No, the simple, me and you, simple way to think about what Ashley was talking about is a majority of buyers are sellers first, right? So if you are disincentivized to buy and you don't sell, that's really what's contributing to the low inventory is sellers are stuck in their house because they may want to sell and buy somewhere else or upgrade like Ashley was talking about, but they can't, or they have been caught up in the noise of, I shouldn't do it. So they're sitting in their house and it's keeping inventory low.
Interesting. Let's get some feedback here from our friends. First of all, Barbara came back and said, I asked Barbara about how's the weather in Idaho, and she said, I believe it's Idaho, right? North Idaho. She said, mix of snow and rain here. Winters are long here in beautiful, I'm going to blow that word up, so I'm not going to say it. So in beautiful CDA is what I'm going to shorten that word out, because that's like a French word, and I have a hard enough time.
Coeur d'Alene?
Hey man, Coeur d'Alene sounds good to me.
It's a town in Idaho.
Sounds right.
I was gonna say Coeur d'Alene sounds too holly, Dylan. That's like a French word.
I think us Americans, we think it's Coeur d'Alene, right? But this is how you actually spell it. It's not like Coeur d'Alene. This is how the actual spelling of that town is.
See, I'm thinking like a French and like Coeur d'Alene, or something like that. That's kind of what the Greek and the desire to pronounce words correctly kind of drives me to. So that's why I'm not going to try it all. See, I probably kind of chopped that to bits. Paul's always with us. By the way, speaking of someone who's always with us, Jim came back. Uncle Jim, welcome back, Jim. Good to have you back, buddy. We are glad that you're with us. And Auntie Joan is agreeing with me when I said, hey, isn't it great? The best thing in the world is to be in Hawaii in the wintertime while your mainland friends are freezing their butts off. And Joan says, yeah, you got that right. Indeed. Hey, Paul is also with us. Paul's like the good real estate questions guy with an occasional wild question too. But anyway, Paul's asking, hey, what transforms a stubborn seller into a scared seller? I like scared sellers. I think those days are over. Dylan, why don't you take this one? What do you think makes a scared seller?
It's impossible to know, right? Because it's such a different, you cannot generalize seller situations because it's always different. I mean, you don't know what situation they're in. Do they have to move because they have a medical issue and they got to move quickly? Do they want to move back to the mainland because they're grandkids? Are they just seeing if they can get a really high price for their house? I mean, you never know. So when people always inquire and say, you think we can do this? It's like, unless I know everything about the seller situation, when you're on the buy side, you don't. And the sell side is not going to disclose any information that is going to be detrimental to their client. It's just hard. That's a hard thing to project or even, to generalize. So it really depends on their individual situation.
It's so true. Ashley, how would you answer Paul's question?
Well, I don't think you transform a seller into a scared situation. I think that you find an agent who can help you identify distressed sellers. And you can find distressed sellers by a number of things. It can be an abandoned home. It can be, there's websites that our team uses to find sellers who have a lot of equity in their home, but perhaps because of the new tax brackets that came out and it's a second home or they're off island, their taxes went up so significant that it doesn't make sense to hold it anymore. That would be a good place to start if you're looking for someone who's trying to unload. People who've been operating with Airbnbs, especially on Oahu, and they no longer want to take that risk. That could be scary. They bought it at a certain price because they needed the income and now they can't get that income. So find a good agent.
There you go. That's what transforms. So Paul, the answer to your question about what transforms a stubborn seller into a scared seller, a good agent. That's what will help you. That's what will help.
Put Dylan or I in front of them. We'll scare them.
That's it. That'll scare the living hell. No, yeah, but no, that's what it comes down to. And to both your points, it's everyone's different situations. You don't know what's going on with people, and we forgot to talk about the. I don't know if it's worth mentioning, but there's going to be with all these price increases, that the market, significant market value increase, significant property value increases. also come with that property tax increases. And a lot of if I'm not mistaken, the counties kind of have an automatic, it's just like, an X percent value of the property. So I think there's another factor that's coming in. Ashley, you touched on it, which is property taxes for everyone's property is going to go up, and it's going to go up significantly. There's some legislation pending to kind of control that, but I don't know of too many politicians who don't like a tax increase. There's not a whole lot of them, so we'll see how this goes. Anyway, so Dylan, you've got some fans here. She Who Laughs, and also Barbara says you got it right, and there we go. Thank you, Barbara. Dylan pronounced my town correctly. Thank you, Barbara, for the validation. Dylan gets the thumbs up on pronunciation. It's become a thing for me now. Okay. Let's see.
That's a big win. I can barely pronounce English words, let alone a different language. So,
hey, man, we will take it. We will take it. All right, let's move on. A quick station break over here. Look, gang, if you found us if you got an invite on the newsletter and that's how you found us, then you're good. If you did not get an invite through the newsletter, you need to get on the newsletter, livinginhawaii.com. Get on that. It's all about the island of Ohana. You get videos, you get used, and you get to kind of show up to great shows like this one. And so I want to pitch that for you folks. Okay, let's move on. So I got one of the questions that we got from one of our came from a couple of places over here. So here's a big question that I want to touch on, which is families looking to move into a home in Hawaii. We had two questions that are very related. One from Shirley, who said, where is the best place to, so from Renee in Indiana and Ruth in Florida, where is the best place to live for a family of 5, 2 children? How much does a house cost? That was one. And the other question from Ruth is, hey, is it possible to live in Hawaii for a middle-class family? So here's the topic. The topic is, what is your advice for a family of 5? Both questions had a family of 5. Family of 5, middle-class families making a move, buying a home in Hawaii. What would your general advice be? Why don't we start with Dylan, and then we'll go to Ashley.
I would first want to know what your lifestyle desires are. What kind of things do you like to do? What kind of things do your kids like to do? Are they into sports? Are they into technology? Because you really want to pick, the islands are so diverse and the areas of the islands are so diverse. So you really want to figure out kind of what your ideal lifestyle is, and then try and pick an area that will fulfill that or have the most access to it. Because especially with kids, you definitely want to be close to schools, right? I mean, you can get, especially on the Big Island, you can get 45 minutes away from a school. And if you got to be running back and forth to practices and after school events and stuff, that can be challenging. And so, that's the first thing to kind of evaluate is where you want to be, and then weigh that with costs. Because like you're saying, is it okay, can a middle-class family live in Hawaii? Absolutely. But you're going to be in an area that may have less infrastructure, less access to amenities and things like that. You may be in a very rural area. So you kind of have to figure what the cost is, and then balance that, what kind of lifestyle you want to have, and see if you can make it work.
Yeah, that's so those are some great points. Ashley, what would you add on to that if someone came to you and said, look, middle class family looking for a place to live, how do we make this work?
We have to be really careful as licensed agents, because we can't steer. So we can't say this is a good neighborhood, this has the best schools. We have to advise, check out these websites. There's these platforms that you can look into. These are certain ratings. So we have to be really cautious on doing that, because somebody might be really comfortable on a certain part of the island that, we wouldn't think that they would be. So with that said, that's spot on. I say that to everybody. What's your lifestyle? Are you outdoorsy? Do you like surfing? On Oahu, you'd probably want to be on the North Shore or the South Shore. Do you like windsurfing? You probably want Kailua. Are you more into larger homes and interior square footage? Then maybe Center Island or West Side might be, better fit for you. Do you like a lot of land? Do you like condo living? So these things are really important. For a family of 5, I would obviously think that you would want to be in a more suburban neighborhood, and each island is sort of known for suburban type of properties. Do you need a lot of square footage on your land? Do you have dogs? Then you want to see if they want to be a part of an HOA, or if they want a little bit more flexibility of what to do with that property. Because you have to think, in Hawaii, we have either very strict HOAs or we have very wild west neighborhoods where you can do whatever you want. It's going to be case by case. I think if they really want to dialogue, talk one-on-one, and we can really peel back the layers of that particular family's needs and advise in a broad stroke.
So yeah, those are great responses. I think you guys are really hitting the nails on the head. There's a lot of times we get we get these kinds of questions all the time, which is like, okay, where's the best place for this or where? And it's like the answer always is, well, it depends. It depends. There's no answer like, oh, if I had a family of five, you want to be in this neighborhood. It's like, no, it really depends of kind of where you want to go and which one to go. Ahead, Ashley.
Well, I don't like, I want to be able to give a little bit of substance to the answer, because having too broad of an answer can be frustrating. So to be a little bit more specific, if you were looking for a family that might comfortably fit in a home of 5, let's say in Mililani or Wahua area, you're probably looking at a home between $800,000 to $1.2 million. If you're looking for a family or a large single family on the west side, you can probably get one for around $800,000, maybe less, depending if you want to put in a little bit of work onto the property. And if you want to live on the east side of the island, Kaneohe, Kailua, you're probably looking at 1.2 to 1.5 million for a simple home that would comfortably fit a family of 5. And that also depends if they can share rooms.
That's a great. Hey, thank you for doing that. I'm sure that's really meaningful. Dylan, what's kind of? Can you give us the Ashley, the Dylan version of the Ashley breakdown on the Big Island? What the general districts and general price ranges, give or take.
Well, and I wanted to also inject in there, people ask that about my opinion on the best place to live. I'm completely biased, right? It's in Kona in Hawaii where I live. Like that's why I'm there, right? So it's like, you cannot take my word for it. Like I want you to figure out what works best for you, try some different areas out, because what appeals to you doesn't necessarily appeal to me, and what appeals to somebody else may not appeal to you. So I just like people to, have a good flavor for everything before they make a hard decision on where they end up. But on the Big Island, it's pretty simple. I mean, if you're going to be on the east side, you can get a nice, 2,000 square foot house for under $600,000 in some of the southeast parts of the island. If you're on the west side, you're going to be paying 800 plus, $1 million or more in most cases. So the difference in cost is stark depending on if you're on the east or the west side. But the weather is very different. Amenities are very different. So you really have to figure out, what other aspects outside of price are important to your lifestyle and factor that in also.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great overview, and I really appreciate that. That gives people at least some general direction. Judy's
when people say I'm coming from Seattle and I hate the rain, then I say, then don't look on the east side because it rains all the time. So I need to know that factor. If you have a deal breaker, like we got to know what that is, and if you can't swim and you never want to go to the beach, then maybe the west side's not going to be as appealing because that's where the beaches are at, So those are things that we gotta know to help narrow the search down.
That's so funny you mentioned that about the rain comment. I remember there was somebody who posted a comment on one of my YouTubes. So I was like, I came to Hawaii and everyone told me it was going to be fantastic, and it's like it's been absolutely awful. This is the worst place in the world. It's raining all the time. I can't stand it. And I'm like, dude, just go over the hill and you'll be in dry weather. Man, I can't stand. I hate this place. So it's really kind of funny. Someone who really, didn't do what Judy just is advised, which if you join Peter's Islander Ohana group, you will learn lots about how to choose the island and neighborhood for you. Exactly right, Judy. He didn't join the Islander Ohana, and his life was horrible. But if you join it's funny, right? If you join the Islander by midnight tonight, your life will be perfect. You'll find the greatest place. You will live in paradise. You'll be forever happy. You'll be, as Dylan says, you'll be living the dream. So that's what you got to do. Okay, so unadulterated, shameless.
That was not a shameless plug.
That was not a shameless plug. Yeah. That's a shameful plug. Okay. So Bridget is back. Hey, Bridget. Aloha. Well, good to have you back. Bridget and Jim. Thanks, Jim. Jim says that link that you mentioned worked on my phone and I went to it and saw awesome waves. Yes, Jim, you will see amazing. It is amazing surf. Those two, if you go back to the Facebook page, I got 2 links on there. They're they're kind of cool. One of them has like a really, really nice music, drone shots, kind of beautiful photography. It's amazing. And that one's cool. Then the other one is like hardcore surfer kind of a video. We're showing like the craziest wipeouts. You hear people screaming and yelling, and there's oh my gods, and I can't believe it's, and all that kind of good stuff. So that's all good fun. Okay, great. Hey, gang, look, if you have any questions, you want to put those questions in now. We're about halfway through the show. If there's something that you'd like to know, ask us anything. Pop it in. I'd like to get some feedback, and let us know what you'd like to know. And actually, we have a great question. This is my favorite kinds of questions. So, Brigitte says, can Dylan help with real estate on the yes? The answer is yes. Dylan can help with real estate. Brigitte, where if you came in, you're coming in off of Facebook. In the Facebook post, there's a link there. The link is to a form. Pop your name in the form. We'll follow up. I'll connect you with Dylan, and Dylan will help you with real estate. On the east side or just the Kona area? No, Dylan is like big on. Dylan, can you just help out Brigitte here? She's asking about if you can help with the east side or just the Kona area or what have you, Dylan. What parts of the Big Island, Dylan, can you help on?
Well, here's the benefit to contacting me is I have a team of experts all over the whole island. So you don't just get somebody who's got regional knowledge. If you have a specific need or a specific area, I'll have a neighborhood expert that can help you in that area. So definitely the answer is yes. I mean, we can help you everywhere. And I personally I lived on Hilo for 10 years on the east side, and I was born and raised in Kona and live there now. And I know the island pretty well. I've been to almost every single neighborhood over the course of the last 20 years. So we can help you anywhere.
Thanks, Dylan. Yeah, Brigitte, there are people that are in the Islander Ohana who worked with Dylan. Judy is one of them, and she's more on the west side, and we have others, Kelly, who work with Dylan's team, and she's on the east side. So I can attest to that personally. Here we got a question here from Jason, also an Islander Ohana alumni. Dylan, love to get your thoughts in the Pahoa area for a family of 6, weather, schools, neighborhoods, in particular HPP or Hawaiian Paradise Park. What's your take, Dylan, for Jason and his family? What's the plus and the minuses of that area?
It's the fastest growing area on the island for middle class families. You can get a brand new new build out there on an acre for $500,000, sometimes less. So value wise, it's really good. But it's rural. So you're rural South Hilo. There is no municipal water. Everything is on catchment. But when you get 200 inches of rain a year, that's no problem. You have plenty of water, no matter how big your family is. But like anywhere else, right? I mean, where values are lower, the demographic reflects that. And so there's people out there that absolutely love it, and then there's people that are challenged by the other people in the community. So that's one of those areas. I've sold tons of property to people out there that absolutely loved it. And there's other people who, spend some time out there and say, I can't stand it. I never want to live here. So you really have to figure it out for yourself and see if it's a community that you feel comfortable with and you can assimilate to. But it's a definitely great area with lots of potential for growth. And you definitely get the biggest value real estate wise for your buck out there. Because there's a lot of inventory and because it's rural and it's a growing area. So, and you gotta like the rain because it rains a lot.
That is fantastic feedback. You're right on the money. And this is the beauty. What I love about what's so much fun about this Islander Ohana that we're growing here is that we've got people like Jason who ask some questions, and we have other Islander Ohana members as well that help each other out. That's like the best part about it. So Judy, who's also an Islander alum, says, hey, Jason, my niece lives in Pahoa with her family of 5. She loves it. Says the sun comes out every day and her kids are in the charter schools. So there's an example, Jason, of someone who loves it. Let me give you an example of someone who couldn't stand it. Well, not couldn't stand it. Let me give you an example of someone who left within a year. Me. My wife and I, we moved out to the Pahoa area. Now, this was a long time ago. This was I believe 1991 or 92. And it was it was the wilder West than it is now. And it was just too rural for us. It was just too much middle of nowhere. My wife and I came from Oahu, and we're like, you know what? this ain't for us. Got to get out of here. And so we didn't. So it's both sides. So to Dylan's point, you really got to go and kind of feel it out for yourself. Maybe if you can, I don't know if renting is an option or not in the area. I would think, Dylan, there's probably got to be some places to rent. But there you go. And Jason, yes, thank you so much, Dylan and Ohana. Exactly. You're welcome. You're welcome, buddy. Great. Excellent. Glad to help. Anyone else have any questions? Pop them in. Otherwise, we're going to move on. I got one more that came in. So Ashley, here's one for you to kind of to run with here. This is an interesting one. So condo underwater. So this was from Tomoko in San Francisco. And she said, hey, based on what we're looking for, like security, size, keeping the place as a vacation home, condominiums in Kaka'ako have been recommended to us. We are a bit concerned about rising sea level, also possible tsunami happening, as they are located near sea level. I've seen the YouTube video about finding water in the foundation of a new building in Waikiki during high tide. Please provide unbiased opinion information. So Ashley, what is your unbiased opinion information about Tomoko's concern about, hey, look, man, it's Kaka'ako. I'm going to spend, a lot for a condo. Do I have to worry about sea level rise or tsunamis? How do you respond to that?
Well, my unbiased is if you're by the water, then yeah, you have to worry about tsunamis. I mean, I'm in Kailua and I'm on a canal, and I think all the time when I'm driving, okay, where's my exit strategy? Because I lived in Hau'ula in the North Shore for the first decade. And we did get a tsunami warning, and we had to go flee up to the mountain, and it can be scary, but that's going to be anywhere that has anything close to the ocean, honestly. And as far as the condos, the sea rise levels, there is a new disclosure that's required with the contracts as of late last year. And in that, they have to disclose what's the sea rise level in that particular purchase or property that you're looking at. So it's clearly disclosed. As far as your HOAs, that's what you want to look at. So if you're looking at condos, one, if you're not at the bottom level, there's not a huge concern to be. I'm not too concerned about Waikiki condos per se. It's more the single family homes that are very close and they don't have a shelf or a reef that's in front of the ocean. Those will erode a lot faster. If you have a reef shelf that's close by, then honestly, it doesn't erode as quickly. And the condos, what you want to look out for is when you get your condo docs, look to see what the budget is, look to see what the current flood insurance is for that building. Because if it's in the flood zone, then that building is paying the flood insurance for it. And then what is the projection? Are they expecting it to increase significantly or not? So those are just questions to ask. But I honestly, genuinely would not make that a concern or make or break if you're looking for Kaka'ako. It really is a cute and up and coming area. It's very artsy and they have a lot of great condos. So if you're a condo person, I wouldn't let that stop you. It will probably not be in our lifetime that we see those go underwater. But in general,
I would be more concerned about being in a condo in San Francisco when the earthquake comes than a tsunami.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, that's a great point. With the earthquakes, for whatever reason, Oahu is particularly protected when it comes to natural disasters. Where we're placed, a lot of the storms don't come from the west side, and they often come from the east side. And Big Island gets hit usually first, and then we still have Maui, Lanai, Molokai, and then Oahu. We have Kauai on the other side, so we're kind of in the middle of them all. So we've been really blessed when it comes to natural disasters. A lot of them dissipate before it hits here. Not to say a tsunami can't wipe us all out. That's always a possibility. But at that point, living on an island, can be intimidating, and life is too short.
And if you think about the science behind a tsunami, right? Like on the Big Island, for example, tsunamis aren't even a concern because a tsunami is a rapid rise. It's not 100-foot wave like the movies, right? That's not a tsunami. That's a movie. And so an actual tsunami is like a rapid rise in the sea level. Like if you push one side of a bathtub down, it sends a ripple across the bathtub, and that's the way to think about it. And so if there's a 5-foot tsunami, which is what a lot of them are, they're in that range. They're not hundreds of feet. They're like 5 or 6 or 10 feet is like a huge one. The sea level is going to rise that amount and then come back down, right? It kind of looks like it comes in the form of waves. So if you're like in Kona, the island is so steep that if you can be literally like 50 yards off the shoreline, but be at 15 feet of elevation, 20 feet of elevation. So you really have no threat of a tsunami at all. None of the tsunami maps show that there's any type of threat. So you just got to think about it that way. And Kaka'ako is probably at like 12 or 15 feet of elevation, right? So even if you get a 5-foot tsunami, it may only inundate the really close areas of the shoreline, depending on what your actual elevation is. So it's not proximity to the ocean, it's your elevation. In a way, the reason it really causes a lot of damage in other places is where if a mile long in, from the shoreline, a mile in is only 10 feet above sea level, and there's a tsunami, that water is going to come really far into the land area, and that causes a lot more damage. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But like on North Shore, I mean, it gets steep really fast. Like really, there's the water's 20 feet below where the highway is at, so a tsunami wouldn't even make it to the highway if there was a 5-foot rise in the sea level. So
good. Go ahead, Ashley.
Waikiki, he mentioned that there's flooding in Waikiki. Waikiki, a lot of that is below sea level, if I'm not mistaken. And you also have the Aloha Canal. So you have the two water sources, and that all used to be marshland previously. So that entire infrastructure, kind of like Boston was built on landfill. Waikiki was built on marsh, and they imported all of that soil. Kaka'ako is right outside of that. That was also marshland, but it's not nearly as saturated as Waikiki. And I think if something was to happen, you would want to be concerned about all of the buildings in town, because it would be catastrophic just for the island as a whole. And you'll get a warning. Just run up the mountain.
Just run up the mountain and get your warning. Look, I think there was something
tsunamis are an awesome natural disaster like volcanoes, because you get tons of warning time. Right, like
nothing like the missile crisis.
Like 10 hours in advance. If there's a potential tsunami, we get alerted like 10 hours in advance, and then 3 or 4 hours out if there's actually one coming, because of all of the weather technology that we have. So it's not like an earthquake that just happens all of a sudden and you have no time to prepare. So it's not, for those of us that live here, it's not something we're concerned about.
I think that's the interesting part about it. All these genuine concerns that people have about this natural disaster. It's like, not a factor here, not a factor. No one cares. No one kind of says, hey, I'm concerned. I shouldn't move. I shouldn't live in this area because it's like, if a tsunami comes, it's going to be whatever. Or even on the big end, which is even more contrasting, like, well, I don't want to move here because like lava flows. Like, people don't, we don't think about that. And there's also actually, to your point, Kaka'ako has serious reefs going way out there. So that area, any kind of there's a natural kind of a buffer. And then finally, to kind of close this, Dylan, you mentioned this before, and I'm just going to tag on it. And if you want to jump in and finish it, go ahead. Look, there's other entities that have a lot more money to lose if Kaka'ako was a bad place to live. And that is all of the financial institutions and all of the investors that have spent literally billions of dollars in building up that area. Those people, I have to believe, have done a lot more due diligence work on the dangers and the flooding and the long term and all that kind of stuff of that area. They've done the due diligence for you. So if you see new buildings going up, like in Kaka'ako's every time I go into Kaka'ako, I can't believe it's like the whole neighborhood got redone. A lot of new condos going up there.
Well, and they have to build to that standard. They have to build like every time there's new build, and it's not easy to build in Hawaii. So permitting is very challenging. Regulation. This is one of the most regulated states in the United States. It is not easy to do infrastructure here. You have to jump through a lot of hoops, and you have to be prepared. So buying anything that's fairly new, which Kaka'ako is mostly new, I mean, that's probably maybe even one of the safest places to be, honestly.
That's a good point. All the condos are new, latest regulations, the latest codes, fire codes, all that kind of stuff. Electric vehicle stalls, God knows what, all kinds of cool things. Auntie Joan agrees. Dylan's right about earthquakes. I was in California for the big one in the Valley in '94. I live in Kaka'ako, and it's convenient to everything: shopping, beaches, entertainment. Joan, you're in the right spot. You are in the right spot. It's the happening place. Diane, welcome, Diane. First time, I believe, that I've seen your comments. Even in Florida, we worry about storm surges during hurdurricanes. You just have to know what areas are concerns and be wise. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. And Floridians, man, those are some hardcore those are some hardcore hurricane people, man. They got themselves all wound up for it. You know, they do it. No one does it like Florida does it. All right. Hey, gang, let's move on. If you got any questions, send them in. We're kind of wrapping it up over here. We're going to go into diamonds and deals. This is our inspirational, fun properties that we'd like to, great deals or diamonds or deals, and we'd like to know about. So let's move into this one over here. What do we got here? This is a three-bedroom, 1 bath with 29 solar panels. I don't know what whose is this one? Is this Ashley? Is this yours, Ashley?
Yeah, this is me. I should have put the island. I apologize.
Right.
It's a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. It's listed at 859,000. And I picked this photo because you can see this is in Mililani, Mililani town. And it's right across a hop, skip, and away to the Mililani town center as Petco, movie theater, restaurant, shopping. You've got Walmart here. So really prime location. Something that's unique about this one is a lot of these lots, if you look at them, I can send an aerial if you're interested, but these all go almost right the yard to the wall right behind it. A lot of these lots are under 4,000 square feet. This particular one, the way it's laid out, it widens in the back. So you have a really nice grassy backyard, and it's around 5,000 square feet, which is bigger for this neighborhood. These houses have tall vaulted ceilings, and this home is a little bit of a fixer, not for necessarily a fix and flip, but it does need, you can see in the left corner here, no flooring to that side. They have wallpaper that's peeling off, little pukas here and there you need to fix up. So we priced it almost 100,000 below market value, if not more. And it definitely has a lot of activity. This is one that goes really quick. And this area is known for its school districts. They also have 7 pools in the neighborhood that you can become a part of. They have Mililani Town Center holds a lot of community things like trick-or-treating. Sometimes you'll even get people who sponsor snow trucks to come in and create ice skating rinks, in the winter for the holidays. It's definitely a family-friendly environment here. Great location, great property, amazing price.
Ashley, you I don't know if this is by design or coincidence or the hand of God, but you picked the perfect property here because our topic was about families, which is this is a fantastic family place, and we talked about tsunamis and sea level rise. You're in Mililani, you're like up high. I don't know what the elevation is, but it's high enough where it's the climate's different. It's cooler up in Mililani because you're up higher. If a tsunami comes to Mililani, it's the end of the world. It is absolutely the end of the world. So you don't have to worry. You wouldn't have to worry about a darn thing. That is one of the sort of weather-wise a very safe place to be. So good pick there, Ashley. Good pick. All right. Let's see here. We got Dylan. Did you put your property in here?
Yeah, I put one in there.
All right. So maybe let me just do a refresh over here. Sorry, gang.
It's hidden, I think.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay, all right. We're gonna unhide that, unskip. Thank you. Sorry for the technical difficulty here, folks, but we're gonna the show must go on, and we're gonna get it going over here. All right, Dylan, 4-bedroom, 2-bath on 10 acres. What is it?
Well, see, this is a perfect example of what we were talking about, right? So this is like 45 minutes south of Kailua Kona. It's in South Kona, very rural. But this is what you can get. You can get a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home on 10 acres for $750,000. It's on catchment water. It's down a gravel road that's bumpy in places, but you can get a pretty affordable, amazing piece of property. Just you can see how sweeping ocean views from the home, and 10 acres to do whatever you want. It's pretty undeveloped at this point. A little bit of it is cleared, but if you want wide open spaces in a rural place and a large home, and the home is beautiful, you can see from the pictures. I mean, it's not a fixer at all. I mean, it feels brand new. So a great option if you're okay with being 30 minutes from a grocery store.
What's the zoning on that?
Ag 10. So you can't subdivide it smaller. You'd have to get a rezoning, but it would be hard to do.
And you can't short-term rent, right?
No. You could do hosted rental, not unhosted.
And for those who don't know what hosted rental is, do you want to mention what that is so people know their options?
That's the big difference here on the Big Island. They're trying to address that. They haven't yet, but if it's a hosted rental and you live on the property or you live in a part of the property, there's no regulation to short-term rent. If you're going to unhost it and the whole property is going to be rented, then you do need to have the correct zoning and the proper permitting from the county. So it depends on how you want to do it.
This looks like a really, I think it's not, you can't see it from the photo here, obviously, but it looks like that home is like on some kind of a bluff or a hill, looks like. I can't tell exactly, but it looks like it's kind of overlooking something, which is cool.
I mean, you can
10
see
acres.
you can see from the window photo in that top picture, the small picture. I mean, you got an ocean view from the house, right? So it does drop off in front of the house, and it's. But in Kona, everything is on a slope, right? So like ocean views are easy to come by in most cases.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I mean, I just like the idea of, I'm just enamored with the idea of just 10 acres. 10 acres of anything would be like amazing, right? That's why just keeping 10 acres of anything would be like, wow, holy moly, and 750. So it must be a pretty now. What is the nearby, the closest town nearby? Where did you mention that?
Mililani is like this is just south of Mililani. Yeah, so that kind of gives you a marker of how far south it is. It's not all the way to Ocean View, but it's it's a good 35 minutes back to Choice Mart, which is a small grocery store in South Kona. And if you want to go to Walmart, you're 45 minutes to an hour away.
You're in the middle of nowhere here, for all practical purposes. You're in the middle of nowhere.
Well, with 10 acres, I think that's what they want.
And 10 acres, that's what you want. That is what you want. Exactly. So I got a question
just for comparison's sake, right? If you're in town, a comparable property like this is going to cost you $2 million, right? I mean, so exactly. so you got an idea. Exactly. Yeah.
But hey, if you like this kind of living, you want that kind of a solace, and you want that peace and tranquility, this is it. 10 acres at 750,000. That's winner. We had a question here from Sherman. I want to hit an easy. Well, first of all, Sherman says, "Aloha from Tennessee." Aloha, Sherman. Welcome. And when do you offer your Islander Ohana? We offer it's once or twice a year. It all depends on kind of what the demand is. We're actually finishing up a cohort right now. We're going to have our next cohort meeting actually tomorrow morning. But I popped a link in the chat. Go to islanderohana.com. And there's go through that. There'll be a registration form. Get yourself on the form. Give your email address. You'll get on the newsletter. And then when we open up the next cohort, you will definitely know. So there we go. Excellent. All right. Okay, gang, we're going to be wrapping this up. Final questions, give it to us now, because we're going to get into our closing motivational thoughts over here. It's been a great session here as usual. Lots of fun and good stuff. Let's talk about let's go into our closing thoughts over here. Dylan, what's yours, and why is it important to you?
After this week, I have a ton of closing thoughts and motivational quotes. So
write them, cue them up, man. Cue them up.
This is one that just hit me. And it speaks to kind of growth and development and personal improvement and all the things, that we talk about a lot on this show. But you can have 10 years of experience. You can have 1 year of experience 10 times over and over and over again, right? And that's something to kind of think about and evaluate in life. And it's something I reflected on in my life that I was really grateful for, is that I haven't had the same year over twice in the last 20 years. I mean, there's so much evolution in different career aspects and family aspects. And even when I'm inside of the same career, there's always growth. And that's what gives, I think, why, I get a lot of satisfaction out of just working hard every day, is it's not a monotonous thing. I've never had two years back to back that I could say were the similar years. And so just something to think about in your own life is, if, you're feeling like you're stagnant or you're not satisfied, is it because you're not growing, and are you doing the same thing over and over and over again? Do you have 10 years of experience or 1 year of experience 10 times?
Excellent. I reflect on that 10-year thing is kind of fun. I got onto this a long time ago, but I remember looking back 10 years. One thing that's really kind of funny about that I really kind of get a kick out of life on is, you could look at like 10 years ago, right, and compare yourself now to 10 years ago. And for me, I look at myself 10 years and I said to myself, like when I was 30 and I look back when I was 20, right? I said, man, was I a dumbass back when I was 20, right? And then when I was 40 and looked at when I was 30, I said, man, was I a dumbass back then, right? And now I'm turning 60 and I look back when I was 50 and I say to myself, man, was I a dumbass back then? So it just keeps, it's a nice linear thing. I love that wisdom of life. I like those 10-year markers. Think about yourself 10 years ago, and it never changes, right? So, and Jason, same here, Peter, same here, right? You look back, if you're lucky, at least to me, if you look back and you say, man, was I a dumbass 10 years ago? That's like a constant in life that I really enjoy. So anyway, Dylan, your 10x factor made me think about that. Okay, next up, Ashley, what's yours, and what's yours, and what does it mean to you?
Same thing. We just got back from that conference. And what I love about them is that they constantly just re-motivate you, and they bring, they just remind you of things that you might have already known. And there's an amazing speaker, an amazing individual. And he says this all the time, almost every time I go and see him. Your ego is not your amigo. And I think it's such a fun way to remind you to get out of your own way, right? So we all the time will see someone who's not, but I know people who will see someone who's healthy and fit or happy, and they'd be like, oh God, they're so annoying. Or you'll see someone who's successful and crushing it and always motivational, and you're like, oh God, but that's your ego speaking to you as a defense mechanism because you don't want to do it or you don't think you can do it. And so, I mean, if you are ever in that mindset and you ever find yourself just putting these limitations on you or putting sort of a wet blanket on your thoughts, like that's ego, and your ego is not your amigo. So
I love the alliteration on that. I love the alliteration on that. That's so right on.
And one more illustration on that, and this is a huge takeaway for me, is this was I told you, in the pre-show, Peter, I got to speak at this thing, right? And I was the first one to welcome everybody to the islands and stuff. And I was super intimidated because this is a room of people that I perceive to be way above my level, right? I mean, people who multi-millionaires, super successful, like the highest level people in our industry. And I was shocked, like a minute in, I'm looking out into the crowd and like people are furiously taking notes. And I'm like, I had this realization that that's why these people are as successful as they are, is because they can learn from anybody, right? And that's their mindset, that growth mindset that I never made it. And there was another thing that they talked about yesterday, that every day is day one, right? If you look at businesses, every day being day one and you never get complacent and comfortable. I was just like, wow, this is so cool that this is why these people are successful, is because they've never made it. They're still striving for more, still trying to learn. And, some crazy kid from Kona, they'll still listen to him and take notes. It was mind blowing. It's super humbling, but like, it was a very good perspective.
And he did great. Just kudos to Dylan. Honestly, I would say he was even one of the best speakers.
That's awesome, man.
You're not unbiased, Ashley. So.
I'm not. I am brutal. You can ask my daughter. I'm like, no, you're not that great at art. I love you, but I don't want to give you a false sense of entitlement. I'm brutally honest.
Well, look, I mean, it's great to hear, and you're right on the money about that. I love the ego and the amigo thing, because the other way I heard this said is that if you wanna get depressed, compare yourself to someone else. That's a guaranteed formula to get depressed. Compare yourself to someone else. The healthy way to compare. This is Jordan Peterson said this, and I totally agree with him. The healthy way to compare is compare yourself to where you were last year. That's the fair comparison. The fair comparison is to compare yourself to you where you were last year, because everyone's life is different. Everyone's life is different, and I have struggled with this as an entrepreneur. The biggest, everyone compares themselves. How big is the company? What's your annual sales? It's all about, are you a millionaire or a multimillionaire or 100 million? What's the value of your company? And that becomes a measuring stick. And that's a great way to be depressed. It's a great way to be depressed because it took me a while to realize that it doesn't matter, regardless of the level of wealth that you have. It does matter, of course, but what doesn't matter is that there's going to be always someone who's worth a hell of a lot more than you, and there's going to always be someone who's worth a hell of a lot less than you. So be happy with where either be happy or not, but where you're at is where you're at. Compare yourself to you last year. That's the comparison. And last year I was a dumbass. That's what I was last year. I was a total dumbass. So that's the way I kind of try to look at it. All right. And Auntie Joan, great wisdom. Hey, gang, if you got some wisdom quotes, we'd love to hear them. Live your life in full color. That is what you want to do. Live your life in full color. Well said, Joan. As someone who celebrated her 80th birthday, we had a great birthday party for Joan. She was part of the Island Ohana 80th, and she looked fabulous. It was terrific. We had a great time. Went to this really cool place called La Mariana, which is in the Kehi Lagoon. it looks like a movie set. It's like this classic tiki bar, and it was in a couple of movies or a couple of TV shows like Magnum PI and whatever. And it's like so cool. We had so much fun. Great sunset. Wait, great time. Okay. Thank you, Judy, for sharing. The link is ohana.livinginhawaii.com. That works as well. Both of those work. And all right, gang, it's my turn. And of course, I would be remiss of course, if I didn't do my favorite, which is Proverbs. This one, what I thought was very interesting, and I really enjoy. I read Proverbs every day of the month. Those who follow righteousness and mercy find life, righteousness, and honor. And that is a guiding principle. If we can fallen as we are, it's a guiding principle. If we can follow it, follow righteousness and mercy, you will find life, righteousness, and honor. And that is my Proverbs for the week. All right, gang. Look, I think great show, everybody. Thanks. Thank again, all of you, for participating. We love it's just it's a fun thing. I really love doing it, and you folks make it awesome. Let's say goodbye. Let's go counterclockwise. Let's go Ashley and then Dylan. Say goodbye, folks.
Aloha, everyone. Have a blessed day.
Yeah, aloha, everybody, and congrats to Judy and Ted on the house. Awesome. So stoked for you guys.
Congrats to Judy and Ted on the house. So stoked for you guys. Awesome. Enjoy it, folks. Have a fantastic. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Aloha.